Hey guys, it's Pete and welcome back to the channel. This is where we talk about money, finances, and we give you information to help you make the best financial decisions possible. It doesn't matter if you're a first-time investor, you're looking to be better with your money management, you're looking to pay off debt or purchase your first home, this is the place to be. In this video, I'm going to be talking you guys through the changes to overdrafts that came into force yesterday on April the 6th, what it means for your money, and two things you need to consider to get you out of a hole if you are in consistent use of your overdraft facility. Before we get started, I do have a public service announcement. As you guys know, I've been in the industry for 15 years. I worked with banks, and whilst I understand how they work, I don't like banks. So I'm likely to get on my soapbox here. It's something that I feel very, very passionate about. I've had my own experiences with overdrafts. I mean, I was in an overdraft for probably 7 to 8 years. I escaped it about 6 years ago, and the thought of getting back into that overdraft trap is something that still terrifies me to this day. But I know there are many people out there who will be in this overdraft trap, and this is who this video is made for. And with that said, I'm going to ask you two things. First and foremost, smash the like button. That will help me with the YouTube algorithm and ensure that other people who will benefit or can benefit from this video get to see this video. The second is to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you get notified when I upload videos just like this one, adding value to your financial situation. So what were the changes? Last year, if you follow me on Instagram, you will know that I did a video on this, and at the time it sounded like a win for the consumers. I mean, finally, it's something that the regulator here, the Financial Conduct Authority, should have done years and years and years ago. I mean, overdrafts are big business for the bank, and this is just a staggering number just to really bring home how much money the banks make from overdrafts. Last year, they were rumored to make £2.4 billion. 30% of that came from unarranged overdraft fees, and unarranged overdraft fees for me have always been a little bit of a stickler because I've been caught with that. The bank doesn't agree an overdraft limit for you, and for the luxury of them physically allowing you to go overdrawn, because when someone applies to your account, they could just say no and not pay it, but they allow you to go overdrawn and then charge you. That for me is a travesty, and in my time I have been caught with that. So when these changes were announced last year, again, it was supposed to be a victory for the consumer, but one thing I have learned is that the banks never take an L, they pivot, and that's what they have done in this circumstance. And it means that if you, family, friends, anybody within your circle is using an overdraft facility, it's likely that you're not actually going to be better off. So the changes were as this. Last year, the FCA announced that they were going to enforce a ban to overdraft fees, which on the surface is absolutely great news. However, they didn't, in their wisdom or stupidity, whichever way you want to look at this, ban interest fees on overdrafts. And they estimated last year when they announced these changes that 18.2 million people would be better off. And if you had £100 in unarranged overdrafts, it meant that your daily charge, as it was, of £5 a day would reduce to 10 pence a day. A huge, significant change. A huge reduction in overdraft cost that the banks would naturally pocket. So this is what the banks have started to do, and some of these banks have introduced changes back in November, but all of them across the board have agreed to this one thing, and all of them are going to fall within this remit. They will now charge up to 40% per annum for you to use your overdraft facility. 40% per annum. Now, that sounds bad, but it gets worse, believe me. Let me just run a couple of numbers past you just to really drive this home. So if you follow the news or economics, you will know that the Bank of England base rate at this point in time is 0.1%. And the Bank of England base rate is what the banks use to determine what your savings interest rates are. And if you have a savings account right now, you probably got a letter in the post like I did this morning telling you that the interest on your savings has fallen even further. So you're getting it in both necks here. The money that you put with your bank is taking a hit because the Bank of England base rate is so low, but yet the bank is going to charge you 400 times of the Bank of England base rate for you having the privilege of using your overdraft. It's criminal, and it gets worse. Banks lend money to each other. HSBC, Barclays, Santander, Nationwide, you name it. They all lend money to each other. And they lend money to each other at a particular agreed rate. It's called the LIBOR rate. And the LIBOR rate, as of today, is 1.05%. So they can borrow money from each other at just over 1%, but for the privilege of you having an overdraft and using your overdraft, they are all going to charge in the region of 40% per annum. And by the way, guys, just to be clear, out of all of the banks that are here in the UK, there isn't one outlier that's charging 15% or 20%, which would be horrendous as it is. No, they are all charging at the upper echelons of 40% per annum. So what do you do if you have an overdraft facility, either arranged or unarranged, that you find yourself consistently using? There are two things. The first one to consider is a personal loan. Personal loan is a closed-ended debt facility. What that basically means is that you borrow an amount of money over a set period of time, paying a set amount on a monthly basis. Now, at the end of the term, you are free of your debt. You pay back your capital with any interest that was agreed at the outset. With a personal loan, you get sight of the light at the end of the tunnel. The second option you have, which isn't ideal but does have its merit, is using a credit card to clear your overdraft facility. Now, again, it's not the most ideal, chiefly because you're still putting yourself in this environment where you have no light at the end of the tunnel. Credit cards are open-ended, so if you simply pay off the minimum payment on a monthly basis, it barely covers the interest. You're still going to have the principal sum that you owe that you're going to be servicing on a monthly basis and pay more interest. But the bottom line is that on the credit card, you're very unlikely to be paying in the region of 40% depending on your credit score. So this is an option that does have its merits. It's very, very important though that you have to have a repayment strategy on how you're really going to attack your credit card balance in doing so. You really need discipline. These are two options which are viable to you, and they are dependent on a couple of things. Clearly, you need to have a good credit score. This is going to be pivotal for both of those things. Now, in previous videos, I'm going to link it right here. I gave 10 tips to help you improve your credit rating, your credit score. So watch that video next. If you have a poor credit rating and this is going to be a problem for you, the tips in that video will really, really help you. And the other thing you need to bear in mind is that now, when you apply for a personal loan, you have to pass the affordability test. And that is something that all of the banks will go through. So therefore, it's very important that you understand what you've got coming in and what you've got going out. Again, I'm going to link another video that you can watch to understand how you can document everything you got coming in and everything you got going out, because that is something that you're going to need to have ready for the banks to view. Now, look, guys, in short, the banks have been slick here, and it sticks to the back of my throat working in the industry watching this happen. They have been asked to explain what they're all playing at, charging 40% per annum for an overdraft facility. And ironically, this is going to impact the people at the bottom end of the pay scale the most, the people who always get hammered. If you know that this is going to impact you, it's important that you have an open dialogue with your bank. As criminal as they are behaving, have a conversation with them to find out exactly how the new interest rate is going to impact you, and ask them for a breakdown of what it's going to physically cost you. That is something that they can do. If they're going to charge you this money, you might as well make them work for it. Ask them to break down what the monthly cost is for you, so you can make an informed decision on whether you go down the personal loan route, whether you go down the overdraft route, so on and so forth. Now, clearly we are in Corona times right now, and a lot of the banks, to their credit, I am overly critical of banks a lot of the times, but to their credit, they are offering repayment holidays and the like to customers to help them out in this difficult period of time. And most of them are offering a 3-month respite, where they're either freezing interest or they're offering repayment holidays with no interest charge over that period of time. To find out what your bank is actually offering, on my website, conversationofmoney.com, I will link it below. I've written a blog which details what each of the banks are actually offering during this period of time. If you are struggling with debt and it's something that you know that is on the top of your agenda at the moment, but you're not really too sure where to begin, where to start, drop me a direct message. I have a coaching program where I talk people through how they can attack their debt systematically, put processes in place to actually help them achieve a specific goal of debt clearance over a set period of time. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please smash the like button. It will help me out massively with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe and hit that notification bell for videos coming every single week. If you've not listened to my podcast, it is called the Conversation of Money Podcast. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. I would love for you to check it out and be a listener, a follower of the podcast there too. I talk money, finance, and go into a little bit more depth than I do sometimes on the videos here. But until the next video, catch you later.